Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We have a piece of dark 5x7 pre-folded paper here, pre-folded in terms of card formatted. And I have a piece of the glow-in-the-dark printable vinyl sticker paper stamped with a full moon. I just stamped out a bunch of them on a piece of the vinyl here. And this is a vinyl sticker paper, so we can remove the backing of it and adhere it to whatever surface you want to adhere it to. It's a pretty permanent style of adhesion, so I think it's designed even where you can put it on like a mug or a glass or something like that, and have it, I don't know, somewhat permanently adhered to something like that. You wouldn't want to put it through a dishwasher or something like that. But again, this is the vinyl, so it would be resistant to, like water stains or something like that. And okay, so this is a glow-in-the-dark one, and it's a pretty aggressive, light retaining style of glow-in-the-dark material. So it's really excellent. So a little bit of a charge in light goes a long way. Okay, so that being said, I don't have a real set composition in mind here, but we're going to go with a Halloween scenario here. And I treat this as almost like one scene, but then this is its own separate scene right here because that's going to be the front of the card. This is the back of the card, but inevitably people open it up to reveal like a complete scene. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a thought process going into it, because it's kind of two cards as well, two separate scenes, but we're going to integrate that as much as possible here. Okay, into one scenario. All right, so that being said, this is a fairly dark piece of blue matte cardstock, and we're going to have to add in some sort of base layer background, because if we just stamp on here with black inks, it's going to be barely visible because the contrast between the black and that blue is really minimal. It would be going from like something like if these are 100% or something like that, this would be somewhere along the lines of between 90 and 93% or something like that in terms of darkness. So we want to increase the contrast that we have going on in the background. For something like this, doing a Halloween scenario, if we have this moonlit night up here and a lot of fog on the base right here, it really gives us an excuse for adding in a lot of this mist as a kind of a base layer for the other imagery that we stamp on here to show up. Okay, so as I say that, I don't know exactly what's going in here. I'm thinking, a cemetery or something like that, but I want to put in some extra objects in here. And I'm thinking about, I thought the fences here would make for an excellent cemetery scenario graveyard, a little bit more rustic than the kind of the more iron gate one that I have on the sets here. So we'll do something like that, and then we'll have some, I don't know, fun with our critters in the mist and darkness within the scene. So, all right, so that being said, I don't have to have like a super strong kind of idea of where everything's going to go at this point in time, because I'm just going to add kind of a base layer of this mist in here. I'm going to add quite a bit of this in here because I want to have quite a few objects in here. I'm going to have some contrast between them in the background. So let's just give this a try here. Hello, Zale, Jeannie, Cynthia. Good to see you. Hope you had a good week. I should note that if anyone's in the southeast, thoughts are with you with the kind of the extremes of weather that are going on. And I don't know, I've been watching reports of that all week. I have a former instructor in Florida in that area, and I don't know, he had to evacuate his place, what was it, 2 days ago. Checked into a hotel, But anyway, crazy. And it's no, I don't know, it's not too much different than what goes on out in California. We've had, believe it or not, like flooding, and of course with California it's always wildfires. So anyway, all right, so adding this in, I'm trying a couple different kind of like strokes to this just to get it blended in fairly well. It doesn't have to be like super fluid and smooth because we're going to be stamping a lot of objects over the top of this. But I do try to get it as smooth as I can, okay? Now I'm not going into here to block off all of our darkness in here because I'm using this paper because I want it to be fairly dark, so I'll be oscillating the application of this white pigment ink. You can use any type of white pigment ink. I'm using the Brilliance. It dries a little bit faster. It's a water-based, fast-drying pigment ink, but you can use your, I don't know, whatever, oil-based, I don't know, Hero Arts, Hero Hues, you know, the Unicorn, whatever you want. Stampin' Up, whoever has white pigment inks, it'll work just fine on top of this type of matte cardstock. All right. There's so many things that I want to be experimenting with right now. I want to do some vellum with, it doesn't have to be Halloween, but I thought that might be pretty cool to maybe illuminate some sort of moon. You stamp it on the vellum with any type of ink you want, and I thought about painting the backside of the vellum where that moon is with that glow-in-the-dark paint. Okay, there's one thing about using a moon like this. It's after I adhere it there, it's going to be raised. Okay, so I can't, you know what I mean? I can't put like atmospherics in front of it because there's going to be this ridge, even though this is going to be really thin once I take off the backing and adhere it down here. But on the vellum, I can stamp right on there and put the glow-in-the-dark part of it on the back of it. I just thought about something. I could even cut out a round piece of this glow-in-the-dark vellum, and then I can kind of glue it to the back because this is going to be a stronger light reactive glow-in-the-dark than the paint. But anyways, on the front of that vellum, it'll be nice and flat. So if I wanted to put, you know, some haze or dark haze or clouds or light haze in front of it, I can on vellum. All right, but let's get into this one. Okay, so this is going to be kind of, this one goes through, you've probably seen me do this before if you've been watching a while, but this channel for a while, but what was I going to say? Yeah, this doesn't have to go on real smoothly, okay? And you just want to get it built up. Okay, now I'm going to be doing some refinements on this as well, once I know where all of my different objects are going to go in here, okay? So let's see, let's oscillate a little bit. So we're going to go with a little bit of a thicker application in some areas and a little bit thinner in other areas, and then we'll leave some bare areas in between for contrast, okay? But yeah. Okay, so what was it? I think I was going to say is after I stamp my objects in here, I'll know where everything goes, and then I can add on and refine these applications more specifically. All right. That's the strategy, at least, okay? That's what I was thinking. Whether I can execute it or not, well, you know, we'll have to see. So far, so good. You can kind of force things and manipulate things pretty good with these different types of media choices that we have these days in terms of opacity. When we were working with all transparents before, i.e. dye-based inks, alcohol inks, you kind of, you had to be kind of specific about your applications if you were only going darker and darker and darker, where you couldn't go back and add in like much lighter tones afterwards. I mean, the pigment inks have been out there for a while, but for a long time I was doing predominantly dye-based ink work until the I don't know, the huge amount of experimentation came into play with all my metallic papers. Then, I don't know, everything was like wide open. It's like, okay, we can use anything now. Seemingly. All right, so anyways, let's see. Going up here like this. So I'm going to put together kind of a little bit of a idea in my head about some different imagery. There'll be maybe a dominant imagery up here, like a structure, like a haunted house or one of the mansions or something like that. So let me put a little bit of contrast in that area. A little bit more of a glob there, but you can always darken that in later with a colored pencil or charcoal pencil, anything like that, okay? And this moon is going to go up there. I'm not sure which moon. Maybe it might be the smaller one. I haven't decided. But I thought about putting a little bit of haze around that moon, like it's glowing. So we'll add that in. And then I thought some kind of cloud formations back there might look pretty good too. So I don't know. We'll see when we get to that. We might be doing some of the kind of torn paper towel cloud style textures in the back. Okay, let me go for a little bit more of this kind of streakier kind of touch, in the sky. I really like those kind of I don't know, what do you call it? Striations or whatever. Some of these lines back there. Okay, back up in the sky like that. Okay. And this will be the moon, so light will be emanating from that moon. So I'll go from the center of that out. Now again, I don't care if that's real blotchy or not, because this is going to cover it up, okay? Like so, or something like that. Or the larger one, okay? So go like that. And we'll go out from that. If you want to give a little bit of movement to your kind of streak, you can kind of do that too. You can keep it real gestural. Sometimes if you want a more gestural kind of stroke too, what you do is instead of sitting down, you stand up. You can get more of your kind of movement of your body into it, which is something that my instructors would always used to say or encourage. All right, I'm seeing something like that. Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Like that light is coming from it. I can go a little bit stronger here. See, this is all kind of one uniform tone. Let me go down. Let me see if I can get a little streaks right into the middle there. One thing about these pre-folded cards is you are working around that ridge right there, and it's a raised ridge. I mean, I can do it on the back side too, but I tend to work on that ridge side like that more than this side, because that is really hard to get ink into, okay? Now I've got the sides of this that I'm addressing where the ink doesn't really get right up against that butted up edge, you know what I mean, like that, but it's really hard to get it within that groove like that for me. So I like working with this ridge on the outside, or the main card. Scene. All right, I think that will do it there. This will be like some open sky right down in here, and we can have some other clouds up there, but I think let's go with that for right now. Actually, let me get a little bit of these streaky textures in this lower portion too, I think. If I can. Sometimes I'm kind of utilizing my nail here to get that little bit more of a streak. So I'm going like this, okay? But then sometimes I'm kind of pressing down to get that more narrow stroke like that. So I'm going like this, and then you angle your nail a little bit further down like that. So you're actually pressing into it, and you have this hard ridge of your nail like that. And you can kind of, get a little bit more of a narrower kind of streak like that, or, with more pressure, okay? Forgive my nails, I was out gardening, I had like dirt underneath them. I finally have my lemon balm growing. I don't know why it took like forever for it to sprout. You can see where I put my nail down, like first, for that first part of that streak. Yeah, I'm kind of liking this nail thing. I don't know if I've done that too much before, but I don't know. See those extra little wisps in there. Now it's going to be like this landscape. This isn't all going to be sky or anything like that, but I don't know. It's just a little bit of a change of texture in there. Okay. All right, let's start thinking about the composition now. Okay. I might want some good framing elements in there. I mean, I've used that larger tree trunk in the art foamies. I did grab these though. That's not going to be quite as tall. I do have the art foamies version of that though. These are the birch art foamies, okay? Now, one of the things about the birch art foamies, they might be kind of fun on here because they're an open style of design. Okay, it's not just like a solid, hard form like the tree trunk here, or the tree trunk trio. They're a little bit open, they have texturing in them, but these birch trees are more open. So if I'm doing a moon in here, and if I want some moonlight shining against some of these more open styles of trees, I can color the side of the birch with like a white pastel pencil. So it might make for kind of a more illuminated element within the scene. Let's give it a try here. All right, let's go with, I'm going to go with my hybrid ink. The Brilliance would work really good too, I think. The Brilliance is water-based, okay. I don't know. Now, I haven't used VersaFine Clair on here before, which are an oil-based one. If you use the Clair, though, I would clean this off, probably, I wouldn't let it dry on here. Probably, because it's oil-based. And then if you go with water-based over the top of it, and if the oil-based has dried on here, I don't know if it's going to grab that ink quite as well. Although the hybrid ink is part oil, so I haven't had any problem with that. Thinking out loud here, some of these things I just don't know for sure, the answer to in terms of certain types of media compatibility. things. I'm just kind of going off of, I don't know, whatever, the concept of a lot of these things, just in terms of sequencing. Um, Think of that, this is a water-based pigment ink that's on here. And so a water-based or mix or oil-based should be able to stamp right over the top of it. Where if this was oil-based and you're going with water over the top of it, I don't know if it'll transfer as well, your inks. It might if it's like a thinner oil-based down below, but you're going with a thicker water-based, like a Brilliance pigment ink or something like that, it might work, because you can go from water to oil or thin to thick, okay? Okay, that gave me a really strong impression like that, all right? And that'll be a pretty good foundation. I'll go a little bit over here too. I do want that house up here, so I'm just trying to think. I think without this though, on the side here, I think our framing might be a little bit off in terms of when someone's looking at the card as a 2-page spread. I don't know. Okay, so this one over here, I'm just going to use a couple of trees off this side. I might even just go for the one trunk on the right-hand side here. I did ink up 2 just in case. All right, so just a little bit of a frame. It's going to look kind of strange without any other, kind of another trunk like right here, which would be probably a good idea to do, but I know we'll try to compose this as just a scene into itself too. All right. All right. Now let's think about some different images in here. I really like this reclining figure in here. It's like a cemetery type of sculpture that fits right in there too. All right, I think that fits in there. It's too good to not utilize in terms of fit. So I'll use that figure there. But I think I'm going to add in some of this grass texture down here below first. All right. This is the grass texture stamp. It's a little bit of a larger, kind of more textural form than the sedge filler. And I'll use the sedge filler, but I use it more in the background area. All right, this is my little reclining figure here. Okay, so she's going to go in right here. Okay, so I just thought of something too. She has this kind of illuminated area of her form, okay? I'm going to put a little bit more white in the background at this point in time before I stamp the image in there, because it would be hard to go back in and to illuminate just those small little areas right in the top edge like that. Later on, I can bring out some highlighting with paint pen, but I want it more of like a kind of a model soft light in there before I do that. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for that white cotton ball that I was just using. I don't think it's this one. This one's all dried out. All right, let's see. Okay, let me get my bearings here. Okay, she's going to be right here. So it looks like right around here. So this is where you start doing, if you need to, a little bit of refinement in terms of specifics of where your imagery might go, okay? All right, something like that. And hopefully that's going to be nice and light, bright. Hello, Linda. All right. I'm going to wipe off the bottom of this a little bit. Or actually, there's a solid form down below right there. And I'm going to kind of take off a pretty good amount of that, I think, as it goes kind of down into those grasses right there. It should stamp a little bit lighter in theory. I can kind of mask that off too. Maybe I'll do that a little bit. Because birch trees have those kind of like little, I don't know what you call it. They're like eyes. Maybe they're called that on the sides of the trunk. So that we might be able to do something with that. We'll make them like glowing eyes or something. Okay. See, that side of her is a little bit more illuminated like that now. All right. Maybe we'll do a couple of these forms in here. She's laying right there. Let's do that. Let's add that in right there. I'm a little bit worried about this ridge right here, stamping over that ridge. It's just going to leave a blank area on both sides of this right here. But I'll just fill it in with like a pen or something like that. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Actually, I'll just stamp her up a little bit. I was going to put her right here. But that's like this darkness right here. I'll just bump her up where I've added in this little illuminated area a little bit more. But let's illuminate it a touch more. This. All right, and, should we do some grass texture below her too? I think we might as well. I'm kind of stamping it a little bit lighter as that little ridge goes into this little cloud bank right here. But let's add a little bit of this in here like this. I can still, it's starting to come together for me. I can see things a little bit more clearly now. At least the structure of this area right in here, with the forms and this grass texture in there. Out of the Stone Age a day ago, we got power back. Okay. Yeah, Bonnie. Keep hydrated there. Bonnie, were you getting dizzy or something? Hello, Jeannie. Well, I'm glad you're okay, Bonnie. Did you go, did they put you on an IV or something like that, Bonnie? All right, stamping our figure in here. I'm not gonna mask here. I'm just gonna wipe off some of this lower portion right here. There's not a huge solid area, so I don't think I need to wipe off too much. Or dab off, I should say. You're dabbing it off where you're not kind of removing too much of the ink. I'm going up about a 1/4 inch into the design or so with a little bit more of ink removal on that very bottom edge, okay? Go with something like this. Getting a little bit more pressure standing up because I do have that ridge there. Although, like I said, it's inevitable where it's just not going to stamp out over that ridge. The art foamies do, though. They contour to the that ridge, which is one of the benefits of foam. Foam stamps on just about anything and around anything, but from a detail standpoint, it just doesn't retain as much detail in the defining of the forms with that laser style etching that they do to cut out the foams. So a little bit of a trade-off, but I do like using them in conjunction with one another. You know, just for like larger scale things in our scenes. I think it's really fun. If you just joined in, I'm going to be adding in like a glow-in-the-dark moon into a scene. Boy, that is really light up there compared to everything down below. We'll have to kind of really illuminate everything a little bit more. I'm starting to, I think I'll be leaning towards this one over this one. Now this one's looking like really huge, although that looks pretty dramatic there. The moon's not supposed to be kind of like super blended in and integrated into this type of scenario. It's just not, because, you know, it's just a completely different material. It's a different color. It's going to be lighter. But, you know, it's supposed to be like a fun element where you look at it in the dark too. So maybe I can use little, you know, what we can do is maybe I can use some of that glow in the dark paint and put in little glowing little fireflies down here or something like that. That wasn't it. Oh, you got a stomach bug. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah. A lot of people are getting like flu things going on right now too. I noticed. I have a client in the the United Kingdom, and they're all getting like hit like one at a time with some sort of bug that's been going around. Okay, so this is the Victorian house right here. That can work, and then this would be the like the horizon line ridge, like somewhere up here. That or here's the smaller one right here. I don't know if I want that real small thing in the background, though. It might be better with a little bit of a larger structure in here because of the dominant, moon that's going to be in here. And my contrast isn't like so too extreme here. So I just don't know if I want something really small in the background. That might, actually, this one might be good right here. Yeah, I think this one right here. That's just a really good scale right here. And it's fairly dark and nice and bold right here. All right. Sometimes you just kind of play around with things and just hold it up next to it and, I don't know, see if, something really stands out more than others to you when you're trying to decide on an element or image that you want to use in a piece. So, I don't know, you just try to trust your gut. Okay, so that being said, this is going to go right here, all right? So let's add in a little bit more of a kind of a lighter background again for that fairly, significant image that's going to be in here in terms of subject matter. Glad you're feeling better, Bonnie. Yeah, the stomach bug, that's not good. Those are the worst types of ones to get because, we can't eat anything or hold it down a lot of times. But hope that'll be the last one, type of bug you get of that type for a while. Hopefully, after getting it, I've always hoped that, okay, I got it, now I hope I'll have a resistance, to getting that again, at least for a while. I know they say it's whatever, bug of the season or something like that, but I don't know. Sometimes I do think that we have a little bit more resistance because I don't get sick like every year, It's like if I get really sick at some point in time, knock on wood, it doesn't seem like I get hit again and again and again with it in the ensuing years. All right. I think that could be light enough. If you haven't seen me do these kind of darker background types of things, the composition kind of looks a little bit more murky and kind of unresolved early on. The imagery, it's not quite black. It's a little bit lighter looking, but hopefully, what's kind of played out in the past will come together in this one, and that's when we start bringing in, the colored pencils, the paint pens, stuff like that. That's when everything kind of shifts into focus a lot more at that point in time. So don't worry about a lot of the different types of elements early on that might concern you with other types of processes where you see these kind of unresolved or seemingly, kind of errors or something like that along in the process, okay? Because these are just kind of like, even though these are the images, they're kind of like, I don't know, in some ways like a base layer type of element, where we're just going to keep building on this and things get a lot more in focus in terms of a kind of a more polished, I don't know, whatever, resolve or whatever you want to call it, final result. All right, get that right up there. We're starting to see kind of, I don't know, whatever the range of focus and distance. Now we have the foreground kind of established and a far image in here. And it's just a matter of kind of bringing in the middle ground all together if we can. The larger moon, yeah, the larger moon would have a kind of a bolder type of, look. I don't know if there's room for it now, though. Unless I put it over here, which might be kind of, oh, but I have that big thing right there. We might have to live with this one, Cynthia. Okay, let's see here. There's different things we can do in here. I'm going to use a lot of the tombstones in here. I'm just kind of thinking about if I want something else right in here as more of like a visual lead-in. Okay, I'm going to have like this slope, I think, right around in here. You could make it horizontal like this, but I think it'd be a little bit more dynamic if you have like kind of this slope going out like this, and it looks more like this, whatever, church or whatever is like on the top of the hill, maybe? Like that, okay. So, see from right here and down, like right around in here, I think it'd be kind of interesting to bring in a little bit more lighting into here. Where this moon is illuminating the land right in here. Okay, now that I can kind of see it coming together right there. So let's go with some more of this white. And we'll do it right now before we stamp in some additional textures in here. So I'm kind of using my nail again right here and giving myself a little bit of a line like this. And that'll be kind of the slope right in there. And from that slope down like this, I'll try to do a little bit of a transition. I don't know how much of it I can do, but a transition in terms of a little bit of a lighter edge to, darker, I guess. But again, we'll keep this a little bit more illuminated in here. Okay, so it's going like that, down like that. And transitioning just to you keep it from getting too boring looking. If I just went with like a solid uniform white all throughout here, it just wouldn't have very much variation. So here, let me do something right here too. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll do that later. Here, I'm creating a slope right up here, and then by transitioning it a little bit darker down here, and then moving into this area, I'll have it like there's another little slope right in here, okay? So see this kind of slope going down this way? I'm going to have another slope going, I think, like this way. Like that. So you'll have this going this way. And then we'll go this way right here. So we're just kind of defining it right now. This isn't something I was thinking about doing, but now that I see it, I think it would look better this way. So let's go like this. Okay, let's see. Having a hard time getting this one going right here. Maybe there's just not enough ink on my cotton ball or something. And like I said, if I do get a blob, it's not really any big deal, but, you know, I'd prefer not having to work around a blob, though, if I don't have to. Okay, here, I got a lot more ink on my cotton here. All right, so there's a little slope right here. Go like that way, and let's do it right here, too. Okay. All right, so see this right here? There's like three, you know, a little bit more distinct kind of like hill slopes. Slopes, I guess, not hills. Like that. Hello, Phyllis. No power. Oh my gosh. Hoping you get everything back to normal soon, Phyllis. Save that power. Or save the power just to watch, you know, the Stampscapes videos, of course. That's the most important thing. No, but hope you're well. If not one thing, it's another, huh, Linda? You know. So I was talking to my ex-professor down there. It's like, you know, fires in one area, tornadoes, hurricanes. So many extremes of weather these days. Okay, so I'm adding in a little bit more of a defined edge right in here now with the sedge filler. Okay, like that. And I'll go over it again with, you know, some additional white in here, like that. But we have our kind of direction to our whatever our landscapes in here. Okay. I'm just thinking, I'm wondering if I need anything else in the sky right now. I don't think I do. Let's go ahead and put in some additional foliage and trees to define these slopes a little bit more, and then we'll start filling in with those creatures, tombstones, and everything like that. Yeah. All right. Leaves, some overhanging leaves in here. The funnest part of doing these scenes, though, I love it. It's like visually carving out light into this types of darker papers, and I love doing that with the, you know, things like the white pastel pencil, the acrylic paint pens, things like that. It's really defining, you know, more light in a scene. It's so much fun. It's so much fun because it kind of like it's more. I feel like it's the spirit of it is more like carving something, you know. Other types of things that we're doing to make card making. You know, we're doing things that are more kind of additive, and we're doing additive things on this. It just feels like I'm kind of like carving out something like out of a, be it an eraser carving or something like that, you know, whatever, granite, marble. Although I've never done that type of carving before, but other types of carving we've done. All right. I might add things in back of the moon. I've thought about that too, but I thought, you know, so what if you get some images in back of the moon? You know, so the moon will be in, you know, I was thinking about like clouds or something like that, but that's where that's going to go. We'll just add in. Yeah, maybe I'm not gonna put some leaves in back of the moon. Maybe that would look kind of weird. All right, something like that. It's kind of framed off things a little bit. At the top of the piece, let's bring in some of these leaves down here a little bit more, just to kind of balance it off with that side, the left side. Okay, now remember this is a folded card, so I do want this looking like a pretty good scene just from here over, and I want that one looking like something interesting just unto itself, that right there too. But then I want it to read good, you know, interesting as a like a double page spread, okay? But it's one of those things like, you know, folded card in like a book format or something like that. You're looking at this one first, and then this one where it's, you know, something like a folded card, it's the opposite. You're looking at this piece first, and then you might look at it like that, and then you open it up for the full spread, like so. Okay, let's see. Sorry for my digging around here. I really don't know what's going to go into these pieces a lot until I start working on it. So I have this like craggy little winter brush that I like. Here's a smaller one right here. Real similar. Oh, this one would be good too. Like that. We'll go with a couple of these. So these will be used to help kind of differentiate kind of the slope from the back of it, you know, going into that other slope down there. Like that. I don't want to fill in too much. I need to leave space for, you know, our little tombstones and things like that. Maybe I should add those in at this point in time before I get, and then use these as more like filler types of things. Oh my gosh. Another month. That is so crazy. The most extreme cases of weather that I heard about in the past was more like when I was traveling to Maine, you know, where they would lose their power. You know, not super often, but it wasn't uncommon to lose power for, you know, a week at a time in the winter time or something like that, but they were just used to it. Now it's like, you know, that was like, you know, whatever, 20 plus years ago. But now it's just like, you know, these other things are getting so common. Hopefully that changes, though. All right, so I almost forgot. I want to use these like a fence in here, too. Maybe I'll have it coming in like, you know, just from the... I think right in here would be good. Just to do a little bit more framing. Maybe right here, too. But let's see. Let's go with... some of these tombstones in here. All right, let's go with this size right here. I'm looking around at the scale of some of these in relation to some of these. And I guess they're okay. I thought these ones might be a little bit too small for this figure, but I think it'll be okay. These ones are a little bit smaller, but I'm going to try something here. I don't know if I should try it at this point in time. If I go with this ink right here and these tombstones stamp out a lot darker than everything else, I don't know, would that look weird? Let's just give it a try here. Yeah, what's going through my mind is I'm thinking about, should I take off some ink off the bottom of these tombstones? Or do I just add in some cloudy types of touches later on with the pigment ink? I don't know, you can do both too. Yeah, I'll wipe it off a couple of these. It could save you a little bit of time later on just to remove some of that ink off the bottom if you're going to add in like a foggy effect at the base of them. Okay, so this Brilliance ink, in theory, could be a little bit thicker of an ink than the hybrid ink, which includes, is partly, a dye-based ink. The storm was still Category 1, which hit us, even so far inland, the worst we have ever hit. That amount of rainfall that I saw on the news was so crazy. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put another tombstone. I'm going to try to put one of these right in between there. Yeah, I think I was watching the news report, and I don't know, there was some area, I don't know, it was like 5 inches or something like that in like an hour. Oh, I don't know, it just in a really short span of time. It was so crazy. Okay, let's see right here. I cleaned off all of the tombstones except for the one right there. I forgot to ink it up though. It was just residual ink from my last impression. Okay, here we go. Let's do that again. Okay, like that. All right. And this is a slope right here. Okay, I want other like zombie critters and stuff like that walking. I was going to put another tombstone kind of like just on the other side of the ridge. Maybe we'll just leave it like that then. Okay, let's see in here. Let me go for, I really want to get another stone in here. It would be a little bit larger though in theory. Okay, here, let's do this one this time. Let's make, I don't want to do the exact same cluster again right over here, but I do want, let's go for these 4 stones right over here. Go about like that. Okay, I'm kind of putting them a little bit off. I don't know if you guys noticed that one's kind of leaning this way. These ones right here are leaning this way slightly. These ones are, I don't know, a little bit off. This is like straight and they're a little bit off. But then that slope is right here too, okay? Okay. Now let's go for the smaller sizes here. And again, we have to consider what else we're going to be putting in here, like some of those zombies and things like that. So I need to be a little bit careful about not filling in all of the space everywhere. These ones might be a little bit large. That slope in the background, especially in relation to that, because this slope right here, this is supposed to be near and that's far, but that's not a very large space. So let's go for the smaller stones, you know, right back up in here, maybe like that. Oh, Northern Lights again. I need to take a look. I need to go online and check that out. Was there another, like, I don't know, solar flare or something like that that happened? Love looking at photos of Northern Lights or those time lapse videos of Northern Lights. There's so many AI generated photos being posted these days too. Typically not in, if there's like a group like that's called like Northern Lights or you know something like that. And it's like a photography group, no one would usually post in there because everyone would know. But I don't know. Those look really cool too and dramatic. But I don't know. I love looking at all that type of stuff. It's just so cool. I don't know if there's a more kind of dramatic type of you know, like weather type of visual. You know, I don't know if it's weather, but whatever. Night, yeah, sky figure types of visuals going on. Okay, so see that one right there? It's I stamped it a little bit lower like that. I could have some more in the background. I'm still thinking about maybe we can put something up there. I'm not sure. These things are stamping a little bit darker as they dry. They're getting, you know, a little bit more integrated too. Let's see, let's go with this one again, maybe. What color are those ones, Linda, that you're seeing? Oh, restamp the image. I didn't care though. It's a little bit off right there, but I figured that thing's like in the dark anyway. You know what I mean? So there's so little contrast. If it was like on a white piece of paper, I would have been a little bit more careful about it. But we're going to be, you know, bringing in like white pigment ink and everything into here anyway. So I didn't bother with, you know, really careful positioning. All right, so there we have that, like that. I think it'd be really cool, you know, what we gotta have is like a stamping retreat, and we stamp out. We all meet up at some kind of abandoned like cemetery at night, and stamp out Halloween scenes. How would you guys think about that? You know, as I said, abandoned. You know what I mean? I don't. You know, I'm gonna be. We're not gonna disrespect. You know, some spot unless there's like a. You know. we'll give a toast to the spirits, and it can be an open forum if there's any kind of entities that want to join in. They'd be absolutely welcome to. All right, let's see. I think we can just start stamping out some additional things in here. Our little kind of filler imagery, critters and such. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the big one was that fence, right? So let's go with that right over here. Yeah, I guess that would be okay here. That would provide a little bit of a foundation too, in theory. It's kind of a visual lead-in too, because it kind of bends around in the scene. I was looking at this fence in relation to this figure right here. You know what I mean? So you probably wouldn't have a fence that just goes like an opening, you know, where there's this like, you know, sculpture like immediate there. But, you know, this is stamping, so anything goes here. Last night was pretty fun with the Northern Lights. I was obsessed with them. That sounds so cool. I wish I could see some Northern Lights sometime. One of these days. I would love to go and photograph them. I joined this other Facebook group. I think it's you know, it's on the Southern Lights. I don't know if it was someone, I don't know, someone might be watching here that told me about it, but when the last event happened, was it June or something like that? Early June? Someone told me about the Southern Lights group, and I don't know, they might have been in like Australia or New Zealand or something like that, and told me about it. It might have been someone in Tasmania that, but yeah. So I get those showing up on my Facebook feed once in a while, and those photographs are really amazing too, really spectacular. Well, different colors and textures too, right? I don't know too much about it, but yeah, some amazing stuff. Yeah, that's pretty fun right there, bending around in there like that. I might go for a little touch of this other one in here too. Let's see. Just like maybe like an inch of it or so right here. Yeah. That stamped out a little bit light for me though. It's because I'm stamping it over the top of all this white in here. Like there's a ton of that white pigment ink right in the background there. I'll go and I'll kind of add a little bit more darkness to it with the colored pencil. Okay, let me ink up more than I think I'll be using here, because I already kind of thought about that when I added it right there. I thought, we need to go in a little bit more, so ink up more than you think you're going to need whenever you're, you know, kind of stamping out a partial. Okay, that's better. A little bit darker like that. All right. And also, too, we do have these smaller fences in here. That's a little bit... I had to get the right angle for them. I have all these different angles in here for different purposes, but I don't know. There's all kinds of different sizes. I'm not sure if I want that in there, though. I can go like something like this, or we can go on a slope right in there. I'm going to go for a little bit of a fence up there, just like that. Because I think that'll make a nice connection between foreground and background like that. I'm going to be stamping it kind of upside down, though, just because I want that angle. You can kind of do that with these fences, though. It's a little bit stronger because the posts kind of are a little bit longer on the base of it, but, you know, this is going to be a really, I don't know, distant fence here, so I'm not going to really worry about that aspect of it. Oh, you stamp the fence upside down, you know. If anyone can, you know, recognize that, then more power to them. Okay, I'm going to have it go down a little bit on the back side of the slope too, I think. We'll see if I can get it in there or not. I'm not sure. And again, this is just to kind of create a little bit more continuity between, you know, the different distances in here. Like that. See that right here? And then you have that right in there. You know, I could bother to put one like right back in there on the other side of it, you know, but we have all this foliage in here anyway, so, you know, why bother? Yeah, unless you want to, you can do that. I don't know, that looks pretty good in there. This one, it might not be bad to put, you know, another one like right in here. If I just put that like, you can even just like put a little section of it like this. Yeah, I don't want that going out from that figure there though. But having that form in there would be kind of cool, like that. Yeah, we'll just do that. All right. See, it's like every time I complete it, I can start clearing off my desk here a little bit more with each element completed, which is nice because I get more like breathing space right here. It's coming together, Linda. Yeah, it's kind of like from a structural standpoint, you know, it's a little bit different than, I don't know, a lot of the pieces that we're doing where it's like, you know, you stamp out one thing and it's like, you know, Lakeside Cove or big cabin, you know, on the lake or something like that. And it's like everything's kind of fixed, but everything's kind of like floating in here. So we're kind of like anchoring down all of these different elements in here. And with each whatever element, it's, you know, it seems a little bit more solid or something. All right, let's see. I'm looking at my little figures in here and seeing if I want any more things. I want to put in these crosses, but I'm going to add those in later. I think, let's see, this one right here. I did think about putting two structures in here. Like this little one could be in the background right here. This other little like church. Like that. I just put those tombstones in there, but I think this would be fine to stamp in there. Let's go ahead and do that. Chris, who sometimes joins in on the live streams here, she was saying, "Hey, Kevin, can you do like the different structures?" When she saw some of those preliminary drawings, and she said, "Can you do some that are like left and right?" Okay, and I was thinking, man, I have like so many images already. But then when I thought about it, yeah, she was saying you can do this like little community with like right and left side things. So that's why I did some of these structures. I did them right, left, but then I did the other side like in a smaller size, or a different, just different dimensions. So it's a little bit more, different. But yeah, I thought that okay, that would be a good idea. And then doing them in like a smaller size too on these sets. We can still pack in a lot of different images into each set. All right, so another one like right back there in the distance like that. And I didn't put anything light behind there because I wanted it to be a little bit more obscured. And I'm putting that in there too, just because again, this is supposed to read as like its own composition as well, like that. So again, true to form, with these kind of Halloween, types of scenes, you can really pack them full of, a lot of different images, and I think it reads fine. There's some pumpkins right here. Yeah, let's leave out the pumpkins on this one, I think. Okay. I think kind of more of the zombie-er types of things in here. There's some other silhouette-y types of things too. I'm gonna do this inchworm, like crawling up the tree, I think. Let me see, it's in the right configuration right here. Yeah. I've been having to clear out those tomato horned worms off my tomato bushes lately. Put that little earthworm up, or inchworm up a little bit higher here. It's kind of like a gigantic, it would be a gigantic one in terms of the scale, but, all the, the merrier. Bigger the better. Or rather, yeah, bigger the better. Like that. And, all right, let's see. I wanted some of those zombies in there. I'm looking to see where they'll fit. We have this strong figure right here, so I don't want to put this, it has to really look like it's like far back. I don't want it to look like it's coming out of the body of this figure right here. Maybe I'll have to kind of put it over here then instead. Or something. I don't know, that scale-wise, that's not really working for me really well. It might be a non-zombie type of scenario here, even though those were the main stars of the scene that I was considering. let's build up a little bit more and let's see where it goes. All right, here's that little bat right here. It's one of those like highlights books. Find like 3 bats, find 1 inchworm, or something like that. The ones last night you couldn't see too much with the naked eye. Oh, bummer. Are there certain when you see the northern lights with your naked eye, um, can you make out colors, or does it just look like light? We used to build snow caves and camp in the winter and view them. Wow, that sounds really awesome, Linda. Yeah, my sister and I were just talking about that. We didn't do that, but she was talking about how sometimes when she goes to, she lives up in Washington, so when she goes to Mount Rainier, sometimes there's like a group up there doing that. It's probably the Scouts or something like that, or some class. Um, when there's enough snow, believe it or not, in Southern California, to go up to some of the mountains up here. We can get up to about, there's some mountains out here that are in the 10,000 foot range. So this one area, Mount San Jacinto, they go up and they can build like snow shelters or something like that. It once in a while, if the conditions are right, and we've had enough snow for that. All right, that moon really makes for a nice kind of central figure in there. All right, let's see. Um, yeah, we're not going. I don't think we're going to the zombies anymore. I think we're going more like just different critters. I don't, I've done this figure so many times in the past. I wouldn't do this normally, but since I've just stamped this figure in other scenes over the years, I had this form right here. But then, I don't know, the company that used to make it stopped making it. So when people would ask me about it, it'd be like, well, you can't get it along with a couple of the other things. But I put it into production because I love it so much. But I wouldn't have a cat sitting on it, but I'm going to do it on this one just to get in more critters into the scene, because I think that's what makes these Halloween scenes really fun. I don't know. Don't have to do a bunch of them like I did one zombie or something like that. The covered bridge one, but I don't know. I really like adding in all these different types of things just because we can too, and they look fine when you really add a lot of imagery into these Halloween pieces like that. So look at that cat sitting right on top. It's a lot darker. Remember, again, it's going to get a lot lighter when it dries. That. Okay, so if I'm not going to do that, it opens up some space in here. I can add in some other things in here. On this, oh, here it is. Here's that um, stamp I was looking for. I'm going to add in, I think I'm going to add in this deer. When I add in this deer and I give it these kind of glowing eyes, it gives it more of like an ominous, or it gives it an ominous look to it. Let's see. I don't know. I might not have room in here. Oh, here we go. I'll do it like that. It's like in the darkness. And that's another thing too. I want to put something that I could like really dark and dark like that. But this is a different type of scenario where it's like, it's like one of those scenarios where like what lurks in the dark. It was want like to put things in camouflage in this scenario here. Like that. I could have been right in there too. All right, let's go in and add in some of this craggy little branch things. I think we're getting enough imagery in here now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I don't really count that bat. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 elements, and then we have these 2 other, whatever, statuary, or whatever you call it, in there. That might be enough. We'll add some bats in the background too, I think. All right, so let's add some of these little bushy little forms. That'll provide a little bit more of a kind of visual continuity throughout the piece, okay, by having this element in there. And then we'll do it again with some additional rock textures. So, you know, when you guys that are in these areas where you can see these northern lights, are you guys photographing them, you know, as well? Do you bother doing that? I don't know if you do, you know, if it's one of those things where it's like a regular occurrence. Like where I grew up in central coast of California, there's Vandenberg Air Force Base out there, so we get those missiles, you know, going up out of there all the time now. I'm not up there too often, but it seems like, I don't know. It's like every other time I'm up there visiting, there's a missile going off at some point in time. It used to be just more testing. I mean, they probably put up satellites back when, but it's much more common now. So it's like there's almost like a launch like every, you know, like every week, if not multiple times a week. A lot of time, you know, that SpaceX and stuff, you know. All right, so see that right there? These all bushes all throughout. It kind of brings things together a little bit more, I think, from a visual standpoint. Textural continuity, you know, whatever. And we have our tiny rocks small again, and we'll add some of that into the mix. I don't know if you'll be able to see that too carefully. Yeah, well, I guess you can see it. And you can add this in the foregrounds as well as backgrounds, distant types of things. And it doesn't look strange, you know, to do that. You know, having the same scale of texture, you know, right up here as in the background. It's one of those things, I think, if you give, you know, a card to someone, you know, where this is in there, you know, that's not one of those things that they're even kind of like noticing probably. Oh, but what I was getting at was, you know, when I'm up there in Lompoc, that's where I grew up. Yeah, there's launches going off, and you know, we typically run out to take a look at it, though. I don't know if everyone up there is doing that still, but you know, when I'm up there visiting, I'm definitely going out and taking a look. You know, but no one's like taking, you know, I don't know, maybe if it's a sunset launch or something like that, and you get that brilliant trail going on. You know, but most people aren't, you know. I don't don't know. Maybe they are photographing. I don't know, since everyone's carrying around a camera with them, on their phone these days, or whatever in the last whatever years. All right, so there we go like that. All right, now it's time for the fun. I wonder if I should add in that moon at this point in time, or if I should just pop that in last. Maybe I add it in right now just so I can kind of have that in there as a reference for kind of the lightest elements in there, and I can kind of try to balance things around a little bit more in terms of lighting with that right on there. Let's just do that so we can reference it. I think it'll be easier to tell what's kind of going on, or kind of my ideas on, adding these lighter types of elements into the scene. Okay, once again, I stamped this out. If you didn't weren't on here earlier, this is vinyl, printable vinyl, not holographic, glow-in-the-dark sticker paper. Okay, so it takes any type of water-based ink really well, and it dries really fast. It's like you can run it through your inkjet printer and print anything you want on there. And it's also sticker paper, so works really great for that. Okay. Boy, that is really fun. Okay, so I have a white paint pen. It's one of my new ones. And I have a white pastel pencil right here, and I think I'll do the majority of my work with those two in terms of anything, with the lighting. I don't know if I'm going to add in any more white pigment ink. Probably not. Hello, Debbie. Let's see, Catherine. There are fantastic northern lights here in Norway now. That's like, one of these spots for northern lights, I think, right? I think it was, Norway was, I don't know, it's probably out there in, like, some of the other surrounding countries too, but I thought it was Norway, where I'm always seeing those, like, domed pods that, where you'd stay overnight, and it has that, like that glass ceiling or something like that. So, this little pod, you're laying down and watching the northern lights all night, But, yeah, that's like a dream kind of trip right there for me, to go, to see the northern lights. I want to see that anywhere. But for those places that are like specifically built for it like that, that looks like so awesome to do. For the locals there, they don't, they're gonna bother doing that because they can, they see it, out in their front yard, you don't need to, do that. But, for us tourists, Northern Lights tourists, we might, we might need that. We might need those domed pod hotels to completely experience. Okay, so see that right in there? We've illuminated the interior. Now this building right here, there's not a lot of kind of like open kind of window areas. I need to reference the photo of that too. But here's my little bats right here with their little beady eyes like this. I'm gonna illuminate all those. These little things like this really stand out right now because they're the lightest things in the scene, but will bring up the lighting throughout here a little bit more. And we'll just kind of bring it into focus nice and slowly. We'll get kind of our bearings on how things are looking, but just in general, we'll be adding a little bit more contrast to everything, including the darkness in here, okay? So this is a matte, again, a matte piece of dark cardstock. So there's a pretty good amount of texture to it, so it really takes these pastel pencils really well. Okay, it takes just about anything really well. And I'm just pointing that out because a lot of times I'm using like a semi-gloss cardstock, and I'm using this pencil on there. This pencil is really soft, so it can be used on a lot of different things, but kind of a more matte style of paper, it's just more textural and, really perfectly, made for this softer style of media that works a little bit better with a little bit of tooth, to it. Tooth is the texture on what they call, the textures on different types of surfaces. Okay, so you can play around with that. If you add too much of the pastel, you just kind of wipe it around or something like that. Or if you want to kind of smooth it out a little bit and blend it, you can use your finger or use any type of blending tool. What do they call those in art? Drawing stomps. It's that paper little like stick. It's wound up. People often blend with that, or a chamois, something like that. Okay, so adding in some lighting on the side of my tree, facing the light source like that. And we'll do the same on these tree trunks, birch trees. But we'll do it on the opposite side of the trunk, again, on the side of the trunks that are facing the light. Okay, so it's giving a little bit more light definition. That's a little bit crude right now, but we'll blend that in. I just want to get the broad strokes here kind of laid out, where I want a little bit more lighting and contrast. Top of the figure here. This is kind of a softer light on them. And then we can hit them all with a little bit of a kind of a more sharper lighting with the paint pen. Okay. This is removable. This one not. Oh, since this is blue too, maybe I'll use a little bit more of the light blue paint pen in here. If I had a light blue, pastel pencil, that could be interesting too. Northern Lights at Pyatt Lake in McCall, Idaho last night. I need to take a look at some of these photos that are out there. I didn't even hear about it. I guess with everything else kind of going on, and that, other type of Northern Light type of event that happened in June, maybe there's a little bit less coverage. I usually see that type of stuff popping up in my like YouTube feed or Facebook feed. I haven't been on Facebook for too much time lately though. I've been busy this week doing getting a couple orders out. A couple international orders. Okay, that looks better now. I kind of go up the trunk like this with the length of it, but these trees like this, these birch trees, it's probably a better kind of like textural stroke or direction to be going like this across the trunk. Or just, I don't know. I like doing both usually. All right, so see that? It's starting to come around a little bit more. I looked to see if the Carbothellos on the Amazon Prime Day. I checked on prices on that, but these Carbothellos are pretty expensive. They're really good though. I was looking at the sets, you know, how much the sets cost. All right, let's see. At that right there. Okay, now I'm looking at. I'm looking all everywhere, but I'm looking right now at this area right in here, and I think we can strengthen this lighting on the landscape right over or right under the moon, to emphasize the light from that a little bit more. I'll kind of add a little bit down to see if I kind of like it. Then if I like it and I can, you know, if it'll benefit from a little bit extra, then I'll add a little bit more. Yeah, it looks pretty good in there, I think. Leave it a little bit scratchy like that. Okay, so I see how I kind of have a little bit more there and then kind of transition it to a little bit darker because this area gets lighter again right here. So add a little bit of that in here as well. Like that, it kind of transitions out a little bit again. Something like that. I still don't have the shadows yet, but I'm just kind of working on the lighting right now. We'll add some shadows back into it, where it'll hopefully kind of give it an even more kind of dramatic look, I guess. And let's see. My clunky kind of applications up in the sky, I can kind of go in here with this now and kind of feather them out or make those a little bit more graceful. It kind of adds in another kind of texture up there too, like that. I mean, you can potentially add in like, I don't know, maybe you have like a silver colored pencil too on this blue paper. That might be kind of interesting. I don't know. That right there. Okay, let's go in. Let me put a little bit of lighting coming through these tombstones right here. Yeah, just for a little bit of added interest maybe. Because I'm going to be adding in the shadow around them too, so. All right, so there's that. Now let's go on with our colored pencil. I do have like a charcoal black here too, but the charcoals are they're a real kind of soft element. I mean, you can use both of them too, play around with both and see what you like, but I want to add in a little bit more of a defined kind of crispness to this before I move into my paint pen. So let's see. What's that, Debbie? Debbie, are you gonna do the glow in the dark moons? I did a bunch of them all at one time because I figured, well, you know, why not? Just do them all at one time, then you'll have them for like a long time for a lot of scenes. Okay, so let's do some shadows from our moons. Those who have been watching the channel, you're gonna, you know, this is gonna be old news to you, but just in general, if you haven't seen my videos before, this is the general direction for my shadows. coming from different objects, okay? So the direction of the shadow over here on these tombstones is going to be like that. So you can see I kind of scribbled that little lighting through there already, so you can kind of see the direction of the shadows here, because I just kind of eyeballed it, but you can see just in general, as a reference, you know, the direction that you can put your shadows based on that light source or, you know, vanishing point, like that, okay? So the shadow, if this was like dark enough right over here, or light enough right in here, I'd put the shadow on this one. This one's getting really kind of angled over here, like that. You can add a little bit of a shadow right there. But this is like already so dark in here, so I wouldn't, you know, take it too much darker anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna eyeball it. And see, I'm kind of having it darker up here. I do a little bit more than I transition it down here. Again, where it's darker up top, you know, next to your objects, and then you kind of make it lighter like that as it trails away from it. I mean, you don't always have to do that. It could be a hard edge to it, you know, for dramatic purposes, but I'm usually transitioning everything in here. Because it usually transitions into something else that I want to be nice and defined up here. So I don't want a hard edge there right next to, say, for example, these top branches or the fence like that, you know, if it's a hard edge shadow. All right, so let's see in here. And this is supposed to be a slope, so I kind of have these a little bit more arced like this than like a straight line, okay? So this little figure in here is casting a shadow as well. There's not really room in here for these trees to cast a shadow, but I'll put a little bit of a darker base, you know, just right there. Okay, now on these trees though, we illuminated one side of it on the sides of the trees that are facing the light, okay? But on the opposite side, you can darken it like this. And again, it's just kind of a grayscale application of the black colored pencil. I'm just going like that. I'm not going like this. Okay. I mean, you can in certain areas, you know, if you want to. But for the most part, it's a grayscale. Okay, and we'll do the same thing over here on this side. All right, like that. Lighting is getting a little bit more defined, or whatever the lighting scheme. And see, even these little tombstones up here, what you can do is you can do a little bit of a shadow at the base of them like this. It's not going to be very visible because it's really dark down there, but kind of you're keeping in theme with, you know, what's going on with these tombstones here in the, you know, I don't know, whatever, closer to the foreground. That fence right there, you can put a little shadow at the base of the fence. You know, here's some other tombstones out here. This other structure over here can be casting a little bit of a shadow. All right, now this fence right here, this stamped out a little bit too light for me because there was a bunch of white pigment ink in back of there, I think. I don't know, or I didn't have enough ink on the stamp, so you just kind of go in here and darken it up with your colored pencil. So you can really compensate for any type of thing that might happen along the way. You just go in and just add a little bit more of it later on. Want a little bit more contrast in some of these tombstones, maybe, you know, you can make some of it a little bit darker and some of them can be the existing tone, you know, just if you want a little bit more variation in them. This building right here is a little bit kind of grayscale. The ink dried and it's a lot lighter looking, so let's put a little bit more contrast on that. You know, I'll darken the opposite side. Like that a little bit. One of the kind of interesting sky figure types of things that I've always looked for, especially when I used to go surfing. One of my favorite times to surf, which is the waves were never great, but sometimes they're okay. But I loved surfing it around sunset, so I was always looking for that. If I was out in the water and you know waiting around for waves or something like that, I was always watching the sunset and hoping to see that green flash, you know, type of thing that I've only seen in photographs. But never saw it. There's this little, if people don't know what that is, there's this little green little thing, you know, kind of right around on the edge of the sunset as it's setting. Some kind of optical thing that happens, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what the explanation was. I read it, what it was at one point in time, but I don't remember. All right. See this little tombstone site in there. So black colored pencil really does the trick really nicely. You know, as I put my hand over this moon, you can almost see how aggressive that glow in the dark vinyl paper is. It's almost like glowing in there already just from that little bit of darkness like that. All right. Let's see. With this colored pencil working here, it almost feels like a lot of this is like, the scene here is like part drawing, you know? Some of your pieces, you know, from the different people that are posting scenes that I could see on Facebook, sometimes people are really, you know, they go into a lot of multimedia types of techniques, and sometimes it's like, you know, I can't remember. Was Jeannie up here on here? Sometimes it's like their pieces are like more, or I don't know, whatever. You know, we're talking about, you know, we're using like typical crafters inks, you know, pigment inks, dye-based inks, alcohol inks, but some of them, you know, people are applying like acrylics or watercolor paints or something like that. It's almost as much painting as it is like, you know, traditional stamped, you know, scenes or whatever, cards, images. And sometimes you can't tell, you know, kind of what people used on a scene because there's so many different techniques and things like that. Sometimes it fools me. Sometimes I think especially with like certain types of techniques, it's almost like I'm wondering if they use like watercolors on it or something like that. And sometimes it's watercolors, and sometimes it's those oxides that they've added water to. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool just trying to figure out some types of techniques that people have used or layered into their pieces. Okay, so this is white right here. And that really stands out pretty light like that. So I need to be a little bit careful early on. And then as we get more of that type of value into the piece, where everything, is kind of highlighted with that similar type of contrast, then we can add a little bit more on our different objects, okay? But I usually start off pretty I don't know, kind of conservatively, okay, like that. So I'm just little scratched areas in here. We'll put some dots in here. These fences right in here always look good with a little bit of added highlighting on them. Like so. We can add it into the posts. I might have to go into some of these with some of that white colored pencil or the pastel pencil if it's like way too sharp looking and kind of a little bit too harsh. Okay. This white paint pen is really nice. It's really flowing. This is one of my brand new ones. It's really flowing nicely. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit of, kind of line work and I don't know, whatever pattern, kind of dots like this, like stippling. You condense it a little bit more in some of the lighter areas, then you just kind of spread it out a little bit more. Again, to create that little bit of transition, so they're a little bit more condensed. And then you see my spacing of those dots gets wider as it transitions into a darker area. There's some tombstones like this. On the upper top left corners like this, you can kind of add in a little bit of highlighting like that if you want. Oops. Now I do have those highlights drawn into the design. Okay, they have this little lighter area, but since I'm stamping it out, I stamped it out over a dark paper. That little highlight up there was dark, okay? So I'm just kind of going back in and kind of reclaiming that area. And we'll do the same thing over here on these tombstones right over here. It's just like that top side of it like that. I mean, we can do the right side of them too, kind of the opposite side of these tombstones to the right of the moon. You do the opposite with the tombstones to the left of it. Like that. Okay. And texture. I don't know if I'm going to do that thing with the birch trees that I mentioned earlier, where they have those kind of like eyes. in the trunks there. I think there's a lot of things going on in here. I don't want to just have everything just like super super kind of vibrating with hidden whatever elements or something like that. We need kind of areas for the viewer's eye to rest, I think, And there's not too many resting spots in this scene, so we'll leave out the birch eyes, I think. All right, so see this right here? It's like a little bit of slope here, and one up here. I'm not putting too many dots up here because we got those tombstones right over here. But let's put a little bit more up there. So it kind of establishes the different distances in here, having that slope right there, right here, and right here have that same type of element. So it kind of separates them a little bit from light to dark and light to dark to light, but it unifies them texturally, okay? So separates in terms of distance, but unifies texturally. So you're kind of like killing two birds with one stone. You're creating distance, but unifying, as well. Now this area in here just happened to have gotten a little bit lighter, when I was applying my white initial base layer pigmenting. So I'm just going in here and reiterating that idea of lighting in there. It's maybe a little bit too much. And same thing with right in here. All right. I think that is it. With the white here, I don't know, maybe a little bit more. Going on that fence. I want to put in some mist right throughout here, so I'm just kind of adding in a little bit more, I think. And it's a pretty fun way to work, Linda. So I was going to see what I was going to do with this piece right here, and how much I was going to build on it. I didn't know if I was going to, do a really kind of involved scene with a bunch of different imagery like this one has turned out to be. But if I was going to do a much more simple one, like the big, full moon, I thought I might be able to squeeze in two. This one's a quarter-page card. This one's 5x7. But we'll come up with a real fast one too. With those moons in there too, especially when we have that moon in there as such a dominant type of element. I mean, in theory, this one has a lot of stuff going on. There's lights and darks everywhere in there, but we can do like a really quick version of this type of technique too, I think. All right, so let's go back in and add in. We have our background white base layer code, additions in here. We have our imagery stamped right on top of it. But what I like to do is I like to go in and add in some additional white over the tops of the images now, so that they're kind of enveloped in this atmospheric, mist, fog. And I won't go too much, because our shadows in here aren't super dominant. It's the white that's already kind of a dominant texture, element in this scene. But we'll just get a few of these images layered a little bit more, okay? All right, see that kind of mist right in there? Kind of makes the fence look like it's, a part of the environment a little bit more. And see this like darker area right in here? We'll go in here and kind of put her in that. glowing type of mist a little bit more like that. And maybe right here too. All right, yeah, that looks better. It's a softer element, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking everything looks a little bit crisper. Maybe for the contrast. Okay, let's see these tombstones right here. Go like that. Yeah. If someone hasn't seen me do this before, that's just watching, if you do this right here, just make sure that you don't have too much ink on this. It's almost like it's really dry on here. So it's being applied in a real kind of powdery, almost dry application. It's what we used to call dry brushing, if you're doing painting, because I'm just using a cotton ball here. So if you have a ton of it, that's not dry, dry brushing. That's, blob painting. So just you want to make sure that you just have very little on here, and then you're getting this type of effect with repetition, okay? Not, in one application. You want to be able to really kind of spread it around. Think about it like you're applying like some, powdery, I don't know, foundation to, your card here. And to see some of that lighting kind of coming through there now. All right, I need to be careful that I don't add too much of it, where everything's just like a, enveloped in mist and we can't see anything anymore. But I think that'll do it. And like I said, if you want to go back and you want to refine some things that you added down initially, you can do that. Or if you want to add a little bit of lighting on some of these leaves, you can. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You can kind of vary them where they're a little bit lighter in some of the leaves where the light's reflecting off of it. And if some areas get a little bit too busy, like, maybe right over here is a little bit too busy with all those little dots. Yeah, where the blue paint pen would work, really well. You can just kind of mellow it out in there with a little bit of this. Or if they, some of them are like way too light, you can just hit them with a colored pencil and just kind of darken them up a little bit. I'm talking about those little dots in there. Or if you've applied too much of this, yeah, you just go back in with your colored pencil and you can just kind of, shade those areas off again a little bit. All right, so this is our card right here. Well, I hate to fold this over, but that's the way it's going to be. So here's our card right here. So see that as a, boy, I'm not sure. That looks pretty good. I might like that composition the best out of, whatever, even that or the open. What the heck was that? Did you guys hear that outside? Oh my God, there was a car accident out front. This Tesla just ran into someone's car. Oh my God, it banged into a parked car, and then that car went into front. I think the car that hit is pulling out of there though, but we'll call this, I need to go check on people. Everyone looks fine. Oh my gosh. Anything can happen in a Stampscapes live stream. Okay, so there's one card right there, or one composition. Here's another composition right here. That one doesn't look like a full composition. We need like some other element right here maybe. But then you get the open one like this. Okay, so it's almost like three scenes. They're going to look at it like this, they're going to flip it around like this and say, oh, and then you get the full page spread like this. This type too, I've mentioned it in the past, this could be the interior spread where you do like a Happy Halloween or something like that, and then they open it up like this, and it's like a big spread like that, so it can be pretty fun. Hello, Christine. You catching the tail end of this Halloween glow-in-the-dark vinyl sticker paper moon scenario here. And again, 5 by 7 inch, 2-page spread. You guys heard that crash, right? I didn't know. It sounded like it could have been like something kind of like rolling by or something like that, like a big truck or something. Like the garbage truck was, it was yesterday, but oh my gosh. So it's across the street. It's always like one of those cars. Anytime, like some cars are parked at the street, I've seen so many side swipes and everyone driving down this. It's a residential area, 25 miles an hour, but people go down at like 45 or something like that. And I don't know what happened, but people just can't stay within the lines, you know what I mean? I'm finding these days. So anyway, I better go and check it out. I saw there's already a bunch of people out there. It looks like someone's having a party or something like that with a bunch of people coming around. So anyway, hope you guys like the scene. Thanks again for joining and jumping into the Stampscapes Lab. This is one of my favorite little techniques here of working on kind of a darker paper, with monochrome types of things, black and white, basically on there, but we can get kind of a nice range of different tones and moods in these pieces right here. So hope you liked it. All right, I better go check out this car crash across the street and see if anyone needs any help. Like I said, hopefully everyone's good, but we shall see. All right, folks, have a great rest of evening.